Welcome into Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao. I'm under the weather. Uh, Mo,
Still,
yeah. Well, it stopped and then started again. I was fine yesterday until about 5 o'clock. So I don't know. Maybe we should have done a better job disinfecting the house. I
maybe
don't
we should
know.
have done a show yesterday.
Exactly. That would have been way better. But oh man, hope you guys are having a good time. It's gonna be an interesting show today, man. We got so much pro football that we don't normally get to talk a lot about, but it's kind of that and the Vols. That's about it. But this is gonna be fun, man. Looking forward to getting back into the swing of it. Hopefully I can get back into the swing of it. How was your weekend?
it was it was busy, but it was all right. You know, officiated a little, covered a little, hung out a little. Um, it felt pretty typical, basically. So, but yeah, it was good. It was good. And like you said, plenty to talk about. There was a lot going on. I I always like it when I get to go someplace I've not been before. You've been to Corners. Well, I had not until Friday night.
Never been in the gym though. I will tell you,
Well, I had
it's
never
an
been
interesting
in the
place.
town, so
It's an
I
interesting place.
I will tell you that the gym is bigger than you would have anticipated. I guess I see why they're having the district tournament down there because it's probably the biggest gym in the district.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
One,
yeah. It's
that's
the longest drive for everybody in the district, but it's the
worth it.
biggest gym.
Now, how did I'm curious how it brought you back out to? I assume it brought you back out to 50, or did it take you?
Oh
Because
no, it
I
took.
I had to go up through some pig trails.
I same here, and
Okay,
the elevation from I
yeah,
65 over to Cornersville kind of surprised me a little
yeah,
bit.
it's weird. It's a weird
Yeah,
place.
yeah, but it
They
was
got
cool.
one red light and 16 churches, two strip clubs. Well, one strip club now. The other one, the other one's closed.
The fact that you know that is a little concerning.
Well, you have to drive by if you're going from Pulaski to Lawrence, or from if you're going to Pulaski from 65. You drive right past it, and it's been empty for a while now.
Okay, all
It
right.
is interesting, but yeah, it's a weird place, man, Cornersville. But always fun to get over there and see the top ranked Santa Fe Wildcats get a
Exactly,
win without
exactly.
their star. So,
Yeah.
but
Good night.
glad uh glad you had a good weekend. I went to the Ryman Saturday night. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And got made fun of because I was wearing a button down and a quarter zip.
Were you
And
the only one dressed in such a manner?
no, but the comedian was just talking about Franklin a lot. He's like, "Yeah, this is the matinee show. We got a lot of folks from Franklin here today. I bet you." and and then I won meet and greets via the text message. And when it was over, I went back there and the person I was with said, "Oh, I live in Franklin." He said, "Yeah, I kind of gathered that by his button down and quarter zip."
Dang.
Hey, comedians, man, what are you gonna do?
It doesn't shut off, does it?
It doesn't. It's all the time. So
It's
anyway,
wild.
but it was an interesting weekend, and I hate that I have repicked up this sickness, but
You've
let's get through
regressed.
it.
Yeah.
Well, let's get through it. We've got a lot to talk about. Scott Rabelais is going to join us. Keyshawn Butte has. There's plenty of stuff to talk about
Oof.
in that situation, and
Mm-hmm.
so we'll talk to him about what's going on with that. We'll also talk with Blake Lovell here in a moment about SEC hoops. Obviously, what happened over the weekend, but also tomorrow night, big game for Tennessee. They take on South Carolina, and I think that's going to be an interesting ball game to watch. We'll also talk again. plenty of NFL chatter as well. Uh, Terry McCormick will join us. I guess we'll talk about offensive coordinator possibilities as there have been some folks interviewing for that position here uh, in the last few days. So we'll get into that and much more. But before we do anything, we have to give you the weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Girls basketball, McGavock down to Antioch 38-15. It was Houston County 56-21 winners over Big Sandy. Franklin falls to Brentwood 56-52, and Independence down Centennial 52-45. Clarksville Christian a 44-29 winner over Rossview. It was Northwest a 53-33 win against Dixon County. Columbia Central has been on a skid of recent. Lincoln County gets them for the second time, I think. 50-40, the final score there. Cornersville Girls 61, Santa Fe 40. Creekwood 38-34 against Sycamore. Ezo Harding down Davidson Academy 56-44. Donaldson Christian 52-37 winners against Friendship Christian. Eagleville falls to Moore County 48-30, while Cheatham County down to East Hickman 56-51. It was East Robertson 79-47 winners against Cross County rival Joe Burns. Gallatin downs Mount Juliet 41-27, Culleoka 60, Hampshire 34, Harpeth 48-36 against Hickman County, Hendersonville downs Green Hill 40-36. It was Hillsborough 59, Hunters Lane 4, Cane Ridge 54-39 winners against John Overton, and Clarksville Northeast 41, Kirkwood 28, Smyrna down Laverne 51-37, Giles County falls to Lawrence County 57-15, and Loretto was a 76-31 winner over Lewis County. It was White House Heritage 48, Liberty Creek 46, Macon County 49, Greenbrier 35. Hume Fogg defeats Martin Luther King 44-29. Middle Tennessee Christian falls to Franklin Road Academy 37-36. Mount Pleasant defeats Zion Christian 60-43, and Murfreesboro Central was a 58-51 winner over Franklin County.
Also, Nashville Christian defeated Clarksville Academy 55-43. Nolensville with a 62-40 win over Ravenwood. Oakland down Rockvale 54-42. It was Station Camp 55, Portland 50. Providence Christian with a 49-28 win over Grace Christian of Franklin. Stratford defeated Republic 52-10. Riverdale downed Edge Siegel 45-43. Good win for the Lady Warriors there. Clarksville nearly doubled up Springfield 69-35. It was Spring Hill with a 53-44 win over Warren County. Pearl-Cone 71, STEM Academy 4. Cookville defeated Stewart's Creek 36-28. Page with a 56-21 win over Summit. Valor Collegiate defeated Lawson 50-18. York Institute got past Watertown 49-26. It was Westmoreland 45. Trousdale County 29 and Lebanon 55. Wilson Central 35. On Saturday, Brentwood Academy defeated Polk Prep 36-26. Franklin Road Academy with a 48-43 win over Columbia Academy. Waverly defeated Dixon County 54-51. FC Boyd defeated Franklin Christian 79-25. Frank Hughes deals Mount Pleasant a 48-36 defeat. It was Franklin County 50, Giles County 35. Valor Collegiate with a 44-12 win over Glencliff. Harpeth Hall 44, Christ Presbyterian 31. Springfield downed Kirkwood 52-49. It was Lipscomb Academy 72, St. Cecilia Academy 37. Summertown with a 51-49 win over Moore County. Murfreesboro Central 47, Marshall County 43. Portland defeated Greenbrier 53-50. Columbia Central with a 57-46 overtime victory. I think that was 57-48. It was definitely overtime over Spring Hill. And Sycamore defeated Fairview 63-44. Coverage of that Columbia Central Spring Hill game, by the way, at mainstreetmurray.com. Check that out.
Boys basketball, Antioch downs McGavock 66-41. BGA was a 66-63 winner over University School of Nashville on Friday. Big Sandy falling to Houston County 66-33, doubling up Big Sandy there. Franklin 63-59 winners over Brentwood. It was Centennial 46-43 over Independence. Columbia Central downs Lincoln County 70-60, and Santa Fe top ranked Wildcats 57-49 winners over Cornersville. Creekwood 56, Sycamore 33. Ezo Harding 65. Davidson Academy 33. It was Friendship Christian 70-36 winners over DCA. Eagleville 77, Moore County 40, East Hickman 72, Cheatham County 63, East Robertson 59-47 winners over Joe Burns. Gallatin falls to Mount Juliet 60-56, Goodpasture 56-36 winners over Mount Juliet Christian. Culleoka 66, Hampshire 50, Hickman County 41-30 winners over Harpeth. Hendersonville downs Green Hill 48-39, Hillsboro 71-32 winners over Hunters Lane. Cane Ridge 70, John Overton 52, Kenwood 56, West Creek 42, Kirkwood 65, Northeast 31. Laverne, a 72-44 winner over Smyrna. Lawrence County downs Giles County 61-44. Loretto defeats Lewis County 76-46. Liberty Creek 49-36 winners over White House Heritage. Greenbrier 69, Macon County 60, and Glencliff a 51-47 winner over Maplewood. Hume Vog down Martin Luther King 34-32. Franklin Road Academy 77-69 winners over Middle Tennessee Christian. Mount Pleasant defeats Zion Christian 76-72, and Murfreesboro Central a 61-57 winner over Franklin County.
Also, Clarksville Academy defeated Nashville Christian 78-51. Ravenwood down Nolensville 50-41. Siegel defeated Riverdale 61-32. It was Springfield 62, Clarksville 55. Warren County with a 71-41 win over Spring Hill. Pearl Cone defeated STEM 5-23. Cookville with a 74-63 win over Stewart's Creek. Page in overtime got past Summit 48-45. It was Lawson 61, Valor Collegiate 39. York Institute with a 54-50 win over Watertown. Westmoreland defeated Trousdale County 53-31, and it was Lebanon 55, Wilson Central 46. On Saturday, Battleground Academy with a 68-61 win over Webb of Bell Buckle. Brentwood Academy 70, Pope Prep 55.
Uh-oh.
We've not read them on that side of a score in a minute. So, big win for the Eagles. And the Knights roll slows, we'll say. Columbia Academy with a 60-39 win over Franklin Road Academy. Dixon County 93, Waverly 43. Ensworth defeated Father Ryan 54-51. Mount Pleasant with a 54-44 win over Frank Hughes. Kirkwood defeated Springfield 64-41. Montgomeryville Academy 82, Christ Presbyterian Academy 63. Moore County with a 66-62 win over Summertown. Marshall County defeated Murfreesboro Central 64-60. Portland 67, Greenbrier 48. Columbia Central with a 55-42 win over Spring Hill, and Jackson County defeated Watertown 56-40.
In men's basketball over the weekend, Stetson down to Lipscomb 80-59. Tennessee State 64-60 winners over Eastern Illinois. It was Belmont 74, Illinois Chicago 65. Middle Tennessee State 79-61 winners over FIU. Tennessee defeats Vanderbilt 75-62. FGCU and Dunk City 73-67 winners over Austin P. I don't think they're Dunk City anymore, but you know. Lindsey Wilson 91-78 winners over Cumberland. Fisk falls to Philander Smith of Arkansas 87-60. Trevecca 81-68 winners over Lake Erie, and UT Southern down Bruton Parker 73-59.
Women's hoops over the weekend. Belmont defeated Missouri State. Sorry, Heather. 66-55. Middle Tennessee State with a 92-62 victory over Florida International in a game that was between the only two undefeated teams in Conference USA. Eastern Illinois 71, Tennessee State 67. Stetson with a 67-55 win over Lipscomb. Florida Gulf Coast 65, Austin P 54. South Carolina with a 91-74 win over Vanderbilt. Ole Miss defeated Tennessee 80-75. Belmont with a 72-64 win over Southern Illinois. Lindsey Wilson defeated Cumberland 65-56. Philander Smith 63, Fisk 58. Trevecca 104, Lake Erie 51. Bruton Parker 66, UT Southern 53. On the ice, it was Edmonton 4, the Preds 1. And in the association, the Grizzlies split a pair, winning 107-106 over Orlando, falling 116-110 to Indiana.
High school basketball doubleheaders tonight at Cornersville. Mount Pleasant heads over there at 6 o'clock. These are all 6 o'clock starts, boys to follow. Girls, Franklin Classical at Daceberry Academy. Henry County's at Dixon County. Harpeth is at East Hickman. Nashville Christians at Goodpasture. Hickman County welcomes Cheatham County. While Kip Nashville goes to Holloway. Martin Luther King's at Lawson. Oakland welcomes Riverdale. Lipscomb Academy's at Pope Prep. Franklin Road Academy's at Providence Christian. Rockville welcomes Siegel. Station Camp's at home against Macon County. Hume-Fogg goes to Valor Collegiate. Pearl-Cohn's at Westmoreland. Smyrna's at Wilson Central. And Riverside Christian is at Zion Christian. Tonight in NHL action, it's the Predators at the Ottawa Senators. It's a 6 o'clock puck drop on NHL Network. And in the association, it's Sacramento at the Grizzlies at 7 o'clock on Bally Sports Southeast. That is your rundown. Rob Stories presented by Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill Shopping Center in Columbia. Don't forget to go by and get their delicious daily specials at lunch. And of course, you've got great hand cut meats and fresh produce as well as everything else. It's cost plus 10 at the register. Our top story today, Mo, we could talk about this ourselves, but should have been fanned. And so we welcome in.
Yep, got a ringer.
What's up, Wade?
What's up, folks? How we doing, boys?
How are you doing?
We're doing okay. Just trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 2 weeks with no real football.
Yeah.
The good thing is there's more coming.
We get a little bit, and I see what you did there with more coming. Well done.
I didn't even mean to do that. That's wild. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky. But hey, you're sporting your Block M there. What are your thoughts on the transition from Jim Harbaugh to Sharon Moore?
You know, obviously it's easy to kind of assume that the sky is falling and things are not going to end up very well. And as a Michigan fan, up until this year, that would probably have been your default reaction. They've been prone to their fair share of heartbreak over the last 30 plus years, at least during my fandom, I suppose. And so, but as you're kind of peeling back the layers of this onion, to me, it seems like really this is about as good of a situation as you could have expected with Harbaugh leaving, and you have Moore coming in. And Sharon, you know, he came to Michigan in 2018, had a decent little career as a player, ended up playing under Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. And then he arrives in 2018, kind of taking over tight ends and some other positional groups there. But then in 21, coincidentally, around the same time Michigan really started clicking, he takes over and really kind of starts accelerating that offensive line and that offensive coordinator position. They win the Joe Moore Award, you know, back-to-back years. And so kind of for a guy that doesn't, yes, he coached some games this year, coached some huge games, obviously, this year as the acting head coach. Still technically, I guess, unseasoned, but for a guy that is, quote-unquote, unseasoned, I think this is about as solid of a transition given all the circumstances that they really could have asked for in this situation.
Does it give you potentially pause for concern that going in-house and on-staff hire potentially, you know, doesn't mitigate any potential NCAA penalties that may be on the way?
For sure. And I think the optimistic viewpoint is, hey, maybe everything is eventually somehow tied back to Harbaugh, and, you know, maybe you slap a show cause on him. Obviously, Michigan fans, at least the majority of Michigan fans, seem like they're kind of glad to see him go, happy for him, I guess, to see him go in that sense. But also, yeah, if there's a way to kind of somehow after the fact pin that all on him, to me, at least, that's kind of the way I would approach that, is like, hey, this was kind of a one-man operation here. And if you can pin all those allegations on him going in-house, that's like your only saving grace, at least in my opinion. I kind of see where you're going with that.
The higher giveth and the higher potentially taketh away. I mean, maybe it mitigates some NCAA, maybe it doesn't, but by staying in-house, do you mitigate some potential transfer portal activity?
I suppose you probably mitigate as much as you can, right? I still think there's going to be some, and there's probably will be a little bit more fallout to come. The big news, everybody's talking about Harbaugh and Herbert. Well, the big news, really, at least for Michigan today, was there was another Herbert as your strength coach, Ben Herbert, coming up from Arkansas a few years ago. A lot of folks said that he was also low key one of the big turnaround pieces there. He departs now to go to, and it was kind of sad in the sense he was at Sherrone Moore's introductory press conference the other day, but just over the weekend has now departed to go to Los Angeles. So a lot of folks will swear by the strength coach being a key part. So that is a little cause for concern. One thing, though, that does excite me potentially about this hire is the chance for quote unquote fresh blood or fresh take on recruiting. Michigan had kind of stalled in recruiting over the last couple of years, at least at a very high level from high school. And especially, I just read an article, I believe on Yahoo Sports. They had three really, one still in high school, but they've had three really good quarterbacks come out of Detroit that have all kind of slipped away, with Dante Moore going to UCLA. And then you've got a kid right now that's in high school that's committed to LSU technically. So Harbaugh, for whatever reason, it kind of, which is interesting considering he's the quarterback guy, but he had kind of opted not to recruit those kids for whatever reason. And so potentially a chance for Moore to maybe really kind of revitalize the recruiting. So you guys know me, I'm kind of an eternal optimist, and I worked in PR for 10 years. So I try and put a positive spin on things when I can, but I think this is probably about as good of a situation as you could really ask for without NCAA sanctions pending, kind of like Chris had alluded to a moment ago, potentially.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big thing. If you can navigate that, I think Sherrone Moore was the perfect hire. Again, he allows you some consistency within the staff, but obviously, like you said, he did beat Ohio State as the acting head coach and won a couple other games as well in that role. So you feel comfortable with him, calling the shots to some degree. Obviously, some things are going to change, but probably less than if they continued this coaching carousel. So obviously Michigan decided to kind of stop things and I mentioned this last week, Mo, that when you talk about the transfer portal, him waiting until classes had started everywhere else to take that Chargers job, that made a big difference. And now Sherrone Moore gets 4 months to recruit his locker room.
Yeah, speak on that a little bit, Wade. I mean, again, just staying in-house and the consistency, the continuity there, and the importance of that, and the timing, as Chris has said.
For sure. And, I'm pretty much just a fan. I keep up with it a decent amount. But to me, I think there's also a little – this is going to sound weird considering you just lost a national championship winning coach, but – I think there's a tiny bit of relief in the sense that the Will Harbaugh leave this year to the NFL carousel is finally came to a stop. The last couple of seasons, it ran into this year in, year out. Is he going? Is this the year? And the last 2 years were really kind of chaotic in that sense. So I think deep down, some Michigan fans are in a, like I said, in a weird way, potentially glad that he's gone, not just factoring in the NCAA, but now you're thinking, all right, fine, we don't have to worry about is he going to go? Is he going to stay type situation? Yeah, the timing certainly has not been great. Granted, that was partially due to the way Michigan's season unfolded this year. They were still playing till the very last game of the year. So Sherrone Moore's got his work cut out for him, to say the least. And yes, you would think that a job like Michigan and, the quote unquote Michigan man mantra, you would like to have cast a wide net and really, really maybe gone out and gotten like a quote unquote slam dunk name of sorts. But I think this is a pretty good hire for Michigan. Given all the factors, I really think this is probably the best hire for Michigan considering all the factors at play.
Well, I mean, you kind of go back to Raiders interim coach Antonio Pierce. I mean, his resume is on the grass. What did he go, 4-0 this year?
Well,
like you said,
was he
with the
3.5-0? Did he coach a half earlier?
No, he did not coach.
He
a
had
half.
the whole
the
game
half
okay.
for somebody else. He got whole games.
Just making sure.
And I think that was kind of the intention, maybe. Maybe Harbaugh meant for this to be a audition for him?
I think so, to an extent. They had Mike Hart on staff too, who some people had thought before Sharon kind of stepped in. Mike was one of those guys that did get to coach. It was kind of weird how they did it at the beginning of the season with rotating the duties almost like by quarter and half. But that's Michigan. They do things weird a lot of times. So I do think that, there probably was a little bit of this kind of in the weeds, similar to Belichick with Gerard Mayo, maybe. At least that's the vibes that I'm kind of picking up is, Harbaugh said he's not necessarily worried about leaving Michigan at the altar because he knew that he had his guy kind of waiting in the wings to replace him. I think he loves the university, and that dude is just such a fiery, odd competitor that he did want to leave the university as good of a place as possible. And I think having Sharon kind of waiting in the wings was a slam dunk for him.
Wade, before we let you go, since we've got you on, and this next brief thing will touch both your expertise and ours. Former Houston Astros manager and former third base coach for the Atlanta Braves, Jimmy Williams, died, it appears maybe earlier today at the age of 80. And so he was the guy who waved Sid Bream home. And that's really, if you're going to be known for anything, that's a pretty good thing to be known for.
That could go on your gravestone right there. And everybody that walked by would tip their cap, to say the least, because great guy. And, had some fond memories, kind of got Houston through some wild stretches in their franchise history, and obviously got a tremendously impactful career with Atlanta as well.
Yeah.
Finished his career in Houston, back-to-back second-place division finishes before he got fired midway through the 2004 season with a 44-44 record. So,
well, Wade, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man, and we'll look forward to seeing you later on.
That sounds good, guys. And I did just want to point out that the stat that was floating around is Ryan Day is no longer undefeated versus active Big Ten coaches because Sharon Moore has in fact been hired at Michigan. So he was undefeated versus the basic current crop of coaches, and now he is no longer undefeated now that Sharon has been hired. So just wanted to sneak that in there. Facts are facts. So
I bet you did want to sneak that in there. He's going to need to be undefeated against some folks next year, though, it sounds like. So
no doubt. Thank you as always, fellas. We'll catch up with you real soon.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Blake Lovell standing by. We'll talk a little SEC hoops right after this. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company Technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Back here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint, talking a little Southeastern Conference basketball. Mo, plenty of stuff to talk about too in that regard, as obviously a couple of big games over the weekend, including Tennessee, Vanderbilt, but also big win for Mississippi State at home. They've got a couple of big wins at home against top ranked teams this year. So just a little crazy, but looking forward to talking a little bit about this with Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14. Blake, what's up, man?
Hello, guys. Good to talk to you as always. Yeah, it's this league is just ridiculous this year, and I think once again this week will be another one where you look at some of these matchups and it's just like don't play on the road. Just don't do it, because if you play on the road, unless you're playing one of the bottom tier teams, you're asking for trouble. And that seems to be the case so far.
And, Saturday scores kind of bore that out. When you look at, South Carolina at home, beating Missouri, Florida at home, beating Georgia. Now it was overtime, but they won. Mississippi State at the hump, beats Auburn. Alabama scores 109 at home and beats LSU. Now, you did have Ole Miss go out to College Station and get one. So, and Texas A&M isn't one of the bottom tier teams.
No, is A&M the biggest surprise?
Oh, I think so. I think they are. We could have probably pointed out that they were not going to shoot it well. But could we have pointed out that they were going to shoot it almost as poorly as anybody in the country? They are the new Mississippi State. Like, Mississippi State was the worst three-point shooting team in the country last year. Like, Texas A&M is right there this year. And so I just did not expect them to be this poor from three. And, look, they've had a couple things going against them this season. They've never really sort of gotten into a flow, it seems. Tyrese Radford, their second best player, in my opinion, missed quite a few games there early. Henry Coleman, I think may have missed a game somewhere along the way. Julius Marble, I have no idea on that situation, but hasn't played the entire season. And they announced that before the season started. So it's just one of those where this was not the A&M team for 20 games that we've seen them so far that we thought it would be. And here they are sitting there at 12-8, which is just not an impressive record, even if they do have some impressive wins.
Yeah, and their losses though. I guess we can point out that they've not, the only bad loss is really LSU at home.
Yeah,
everything else maybe at Arkansas, but heck, that was 1 point, and even Duke did that. So, I mean, they played a tough schedule to this point, but a lot of folks were talking about Texas A&M as being, a contender for the SEC championship. And I mean, right now, you just can't look at that team and say, yeah, they can win the SEC.
Yeah. I mean, they got a resume that's not bad, but it's just, you're not going to trust them over a lot of time. I mean, I was surprised, but like in our composite staff power rankings we do every week, they wound up at 10th this week. It's like, I mean, realistically, they're probably not the 10th team in the SEC in terms of like, if you put the bracket together, they'd be much higher than a couple teams in front of them. But that's not everything. I think it's just they're just not a team you feel like you can trust right now. So
something to be said for that. Speaking of teams that you can't trust, going into this Tennessee Vanderbilt game, everybody thinks it's a walkover. You look up and it's a 5-point game in favor of the Commodores.
Not
at the
everybody
half.
thought it was a walkover.
Yeah, well, plenty of people did. Plenty of people with BVS did not. And again, to Chris's point, 40-35 Vanderbilt at the half, and then along comes Dalton Connect, who Joe Rexroad of the Athletic is asking if he's not just the SEC's best player, but who's better in college hoops.
I said something today, and after I said it, I had to go back and say, did I say that? Like, I think I meant it, and I said, I don't think we see a player like Dalton Connect come along very often in college basketball. I just don't. I mean, there's not a lot of players to me that I could pinpoint that are like him, and it is surprising because it's like we went into the season knowing he would be part of what they were going to be doing there, and that was one of the justifications I think for a lot of people, myself included. If you're going to say Tennessee's the best team in the league, which most of us picked them preseason number one in the SEC, we said we think they're going to be better offensively. We think they have a chance with the addition of a Dalton Connect and a Jordan Gainey and guys like that to take a step forward in that department. But like we were grouping Dalton Connect in with other guys. There are no other guys like him. And we were trying to make comparisons this week on one of our shows. We're like, who's he reminds you of? And this is gonna sound wild, but Rick Barnes has said it, and I think it's spot on. Like, I mean, the Kevin Durant thing to me is like when you watch this guy play and just some of the ways he can score and all those different things, I get it now. Like, I completely get it. And so he may be the best player out there because I have not seen another player in college basketball right now with the ability to take over a game and just have the smoothness offensively that he has. And Tennessee fans, it's just music to your ears because this is everything that everybody's been asking to see from you for years. Is just this one thing right here. And you have him now combined with one of the most experienced teams out there, one of the best defensive teams out there. I mean, let's call it what it is. Like, this is it for Tennessee. If they're going to make that run, this is the team to do it.
And the thing about it is, Blake, the way he has mixed in with this roster and the way the rest of this roster has been willing to let him be him is really something special to me.
Yeah. I mean, look, Chris Lee brought it up today. We were talking. He's like, think about the name you don't hear a lot this season with Tennessee.
Josiah
it's
Jordan
Vescovy.
James.
James or Vescovy, either one, right? And like, that's the thing is going into the season that those two guys were two of the biggest reasons why I said I was, picking Tennessee to win the league. I mean, Vescovy could go. I mean, you look at his scoring, right? It's nowhere near what it had to be because there was a lot more pressure on his shoulders the past couple of years. But this year, he can have a 2-point game against Florida, and they still win by 19. In past years, if he's doing stuff like that, it's probably a pretty tough thing for them to be able to do that. And so I just think, again, it is wild that those are the guys that, and James can go a game without scoring or whatever it was, and they still are in fine shape. And it's just because you have a player like this who just completely changes the dynamic of everything they can do offensively, and taking that pressure off of guys like that. I think we've seen that's just as big of a deal as anything is, not making those guys have everything on their shoulders has just been huge for them individually. So
can you imagine him at Northern Colorado?
Right. That's the thing is, look, I went back and watched some of his stuff at Northern Colorado, and obviously he had good numbers, but you can see the skill set that's there, and you can see all the things that he did to, again, make him a very attractive option for Tennessee. And he obviously put up a lot of points. Again, points wise, there's a lot of similarities there in what he's doing here at Tennessee, but it's just, you think about, though, we say it every year with guys in the transfer portal area. It is making that jump from a place like that to the SEC. And we have seen plenty of guys come through here and not be able to adapt. But sometimes when you are just a true scorer in every sense of the word, he has not had those problems that many other SEC players that came from low major, mid major conferences have had.
The sad thing is, if you're a UT fan, you're only going to get 1 year of him.
Yeah, that's the problem. Or maybe it's
It is-
not. Maybe they get everything they need out of him, and it's not a problem. So
It's awfully unfortunate, but yeah, you're right.
Blake Lovell at the Blake Lovell on X from Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. That said, Blake, again, it was a 5-point game at halftime. Tennessee was down. Vanderbilt obviously unable to hang on. Are they going to go winless?
boy, it's a big week for two winless teams in the SEC. Of course, that's because they meet each other on Saturday with Vanderbilt and Missouri. But Missouri's actually got the bigger week because they host Arkansas on Wednesday before they go to Vandy on Saturday. So to me, this is it for Missouri. They got to win one of these games, or I'm concerned as the resident, Dennis Gates hype man last year, that they could be staring down a potential offer. I certainly don't want that to happen. But I think Vanderbilt's going to beat Missouri on Saturday. And so I think that is where they will get a win. My guess is they will find a way to upset someone, whether it's a Georgia, LSU team like that. If you look at their road games, though, I don't see where they're winning any of these, unless Arkansas has just completely, unless they're putting Muss is going into the stands to pick people at that point due to frustration, at the end of February. Maybe that's a possibility. But yeah, it's, again, I look at this Vanderbilt team and you could see, and I can understand Vanderbilt fans being optimistic based on how they finished last year. I get it. You want to just think that things are just going to keep rolling right along. You're going to pick right up where you left off. But as we know, it just doesn't work in this era anymore. If we were doing this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then yes, you can pick up where you left off last season because you'd have the same roster. You'd have a lot of the same players, unless the guys that graduated. You'd bring in a couple freshmen, go from there. But it's just, yes, they brought back two of their best guys, but the rest of the roster just is not where it needs to be consistently competitive in this SEC landscape. And we've heard Jerry Stackhouse air his frustrations with that, whether he thinks it's on the Vanderbilt aspect itself of not being able to get transfers or any of this other stuff. But the fact is, you have to build a roster that can compete with what everybody else is doing. And right now, they've got some guys that can do that, but they've got other guys who are having to follow like the developmental plan of where we think these guys can be good in 2 or 3 years. And that, if that's the plan, then you're going to have seasons like this that just go nowhere. And so I don't know.
Well, and the backside of we think these guys are going to be good in 2 or 3 years, are they going to be good for you?
Exactly.
In 2 or 3 years.
You don't have that luxury anymore. And they built a lot of goodwill last year with the way, again, the season went.
It's
completely gone now because you can't look at this and find any sort of optimism. And if you are looking and finding optimism, then where? It's just, I don't really see it right now. Look, maybe they go play well at Auburn. Maybe they beat Missouri. Maybe they give Kentucky a game and all of a sudden they start to play better. Sure, but the fans are still going to see the record. And you guys know it's never been a thing that Tennessee fans have never gotten into Memorial Gym. They've done that even when Vanderbilt's been good. But, Saturday's just, come on, right? It's all Tennessee. So, yeah.
And you talk about the guys that they do have in this roster. Rivera Torres is a kid that you could build around, right?
Yep. I think so.
There.
Yeah. He's a good player. I mean, he's, again, one of those guys that fits the description of what you need to be if you're going to start not just or climbing the ladder, which they did last year, but it's like, if you're going to build something for the future, yes, he's one of those guys that can absolutely be part of that. But the problem then becomes, it's like, all right, let's say he comes out and has a great season, right? Well, how many other coaches out there are going to see that and say, hey, man, do you want to be stuck here playing for a team that just, won 6, 7, 8 games and won 2 SEC games, or you want to come play for, middle of the road SEC team A? It's just, that's the nature of where, and how is Vanderbilt going to be able to prevent those kind of things? when they do start to get guys like this. I know they kept Mannion. I know they kept Lawrence, but I just think that's the bigger thing you have to look at. I know Vanderbilt fans know this, but it's like, that's where in this era, that can be as important as anything. It's like, you're not just having a bad season. You're having a season where other teams, programs can use it against you to take the players that even kept you in the conversation, even in a bad season. And so that's where things get really challenging.
Let's just throw this out there. I don't know if you guys can see me or hear me, but I hope you can.
We can.
Coaching clearly matters. Exhibit A, South Carolina.
Yeah. I mean,
you can win with players that stunk a year before if you just have a better coach, it appears.
Lamont Paris, I think, is someone who, again, you could see the wheels turning a little bit last year. And I know they lost a lot of games, and there were some, the Tennessee game specifically, right? I don't even know. I'm sure we brought the stat up last year, but it's like, it's not often you see the same team lose, to the same opponent by 40 plus points in the same season. They did, but they were competitive against a lot of SEC teams. And of course, won the game at Kentucky. They had the building blocks of, okay, Meiji Johnson can be someone we can count on. Jacoby Wright, who's now kind of playing some of his best basketball, has hit some big shots this past week against Kentucky and Missouri, playing good basketball. And they proved the ability to, and I don't think we can discount the fact that when you can get a player like Gigi Jackson, you get a 5-star recruit like that there's visibility there, and you can start to sell that to other people. Now, they didn't do that this year in terms of getting a guy like that freshman-wise, but they went out and were able to sell what we think we can do, and go get a BJ Mack, go get a Miles Studi, who, was at Vanderbilt, go get a Talon Cooper. And I think what South Carolina is doing, and, look, guys, I've said it this week multiple times, and there may be people that agree or disagree with it, but I think South Carolina, I'm not saying they're Tennessee, but to me, they're starting to build a team that is older, a physical team. They play aggressive defense, and that has been the staple of Tennessee. And I think if they just keep leaning into that, not just this year, but moving forward, go out and get guys who are just going to be dogs essentially on defense, and then just let everything else come along from there. I think that's the coaching aspect of Lamont Paris, that he's realized what's going to separate them from a lot of other SEC teams. And it also helps that they play a much different style. They play a much slower tempo, but that's what you have to do. You have to have whatever your style is. You have to go get the guys you think that can fit that. And he's clearly proven this year. I was definitely wrong about them. I thought they were the worst team in the league without question heading into the season, but he found a way to put all the pieces together roster wise. He's figured out what their identity needs to be, and it's working for him.
Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here with us on Main Street Sports today. And obviously that South Carolina, Tennessee game tomorrow night looms big, but also the Egg Bowl of basketball should be fun as well. So yeah, good slate of games tomorrow with South Carolina at Tennessee, and then Mississippi State at Ole Miss, a doubleheader on Southeastern Conference Network. Should be fun, man.
Yeah, 2 good games. I think, guys, you look at this, Tennessee, South Carolina game, again, to me, this will probably be a little bit of a grind. We think look-ahead games don't happen. We know that's not the case in college basketball. I think Tennessee, obviously a big game against Kentucky, and you better believe Rick Barnes will have his team's attention in terms of looking at South Carolina and saying, hey, forget everything you saw last year. This is a completely different animal this year. And I think when you look at it from that standpoint, I'm curious because Tennessee has beaten everybody but Illinois this year, I think by 18 or more points in Knoxville. And, this is going to be a challenge for South Carolina offensively, because we saw them kind of lay an egg to kind of segue into the next game at Alabama and only scored 47 points, got beat by 27 there. We'll see if they can keep this interesting. I think they can, but it's Tennessee, and Dalton Connect can take over a game, as we said, at any time. And then the Egg Bowl of basketball. This is one where you want to talk about 2 teams that are in sort of desperation mode. And obviously it feels weird to say that for Ole Miss, who's 17-3, but they got to start building a resume. The wins aren't enough right now. They got to start building an NCAA tournament resume. And there is no one out there that has a bigger 2 weeks ahead in the SEC than Ole Miss, who plays Mississippi State at home on Tuesday, Auburn at home on Saturday, at South Carolina next Tuesday, at Kentucky the following Tuesday. Those next 4 games could quite frankly decide whether Ole Miss is going to be an NCAA tournament team or not. They can't have a losing record in those, in my opinion. They got to try to split it somehow, whether it's just winning the 2 home games, losing the 2 road games. If they do that, they're going to be sitting in a really good spot. But it's going to be hard against this Mississippi State team that's rugged, plays tough defense, but they, like many other teams, just cannot seem to get out of their own way on the road. And so we'll see how it turns out. I think that should, like you said, these should be 2 really good games. And I'm really curious to see what South Carolina does to try to slow down Tennessee a bit.
These are kind of the games that they brought Chris Beard in for in Oxford, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, these are the games where you fully expect them to be close. You fully expect it to be a game that's decided by 1 or 2 possessions. How do you put your team in the best position to win these kind of games? Because again, these are the teams. Mississippi State right now is probably, one of the last 8 teams, maybe, if you had to field the tournament right now. And Ole Miss is probably, I don't know, one of the first several teams out. Maybe some people think they're one of the last 4 in, something like that. So these are the games you got to win to start to separate yourselves and put yourself in a position to be comfortable. If they were to get to the NCAA tournament in year 1, just think about the foundation that sort of sets moving forward from a recruiting standpoint, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a significant couple weeks here for Ole Miss.
Blake, as always, man, we appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
We'll take a break. When we come back, MONSTARS. So stick around. Main Street Sports Day presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joints. Back in a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
All right, it's time for MONSTARS. We'll have to get through this kind of quickly, I guess, Mo. But So yeah, let's talk about some MONSTARS of the weekend. Anybody jump out at you immediately?
Yeah, immediately. Conference USA Player of the Week. You saw him Wednesday night, Justin Porter. After a 30-point performance in MTSU 75-67 win over Jack State, went for 20 points and 8 boards in a 79-61 win Saturday over Florida International. And all of a sudden, the Blue Raiders on a 2-game win streak. Who'd have thought?
Well, it's funny that you said that because I was going to go with my man Elias King, who had 23-6 for the Blue Raiders in that win over FIU on Saturday. 8 of 11 from the floor, including 5 of 8 from 3-point range. King was just as good on Wednesday night as well. Was a big reason that Middle got the win over Jacksonville State with 23-6 in both of those games. So
gotta have him. And you said it from the moment he transferred over there from Mississippi State. So kudos to you. He's finally
he's finally found a little bit of a groove here, and I think Porter coming on has probably helped as well. Take a little pressure off of him. So both of those guys. All right, number 2.
Number 2, I'm gonna stay on campus. Tamia Scott, in a matchup of unbeatens in Conference USA, where the conference office said this should be a good one. Well, no, it wasn't. And Tamia Scott with a double-double, 26 points, 10 boards, as the Blue Raiders went into FIU and reminded them we're still the Queens, 92-62. Lady Raiders.
I sure hope Charlie Cream was watching.
I feel like Rick might have sent him a clip of the game, if not the whole game. We still here.
Not sure if you remember us or not, but
yeah. Allow me to introduce myself. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. 20 carries for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 4 catches for 42 yards. Obviously, San Francisco with a major comeback win for a trip to the Super Bowl.
Let's go to Vegas, baby. Yeah. My number 3, we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. Alton Slaughter sprained his ankle Thursday night against Hampshire. Did not play down at Cornersville. Top-ranked Wildcats were in a little of a, what do we do? Well, you give the ball to Macon Atkinson. Let him go for 29 points and 4 threes in a 57-49 win to stay perfect in district play and go to, 18-1, I think, overall for Santa Fe.
18-1.
Big night for the junior. Big night for the junior, big night for Santa Fe, and they've got a tough one tomorrow night down at Richland. So
I'll go to the women's hardwood out of Beaverton, Oregon. Stanford forward Cameron Brink, who on Saturday went for a game-high 28 points and pulled down 19 boards. She was so close. So close.
That's solid.
But yeah, 25 points. I'm sorry, 25.
Oh, 25.
25. What 25 was right. 25 and 19
points,
but
19 boards.
Yeah, just missing the 2020 game.
That's
but
work.
Yeah, big. Of course, it's Stanford, so they got some ballers over there.
doubt.
So, but all right, that's going to do it for our MONSTARS. We got through it quickly. We've got Terry McCormick, and he'll stick with us on the other side of this break, and we'll talk about offensive coordinators and who might be the Titans right after this. Stick around.
He shoots, and he scores!
Since 1975, Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic has treated the orthopedic needs of Middle Tennessee residents. The trained physicians provide surgical options and minimally invasive options to treat all orthopedic needs. The walk-in clinic, OrthoQuick, helps you bypass the ER while treating sports injuries and acute needs Monday through Saturday. Visit MTBJ online at mtbj.net or on social media at Mid-Tennessee Bone Joint Clinic. All right, we're back in time now to talk about the Tennessee Titans with Terry McCormick. What's up, Terry?
How you doing, guys? It is your Daily Titans Report, brought to you as always by Zen Sports. You want to talk some offensive coordinators? Well, there are a couple of names that have emerged as potential candidates, according to various reports. One of those is Nick Holes, who is the on the staff down in Jacksonville. I think he's a quarterbacks coach maybe or something, part of that staff down there under Doug Peterson. And then the other one is on Mike McDaniel's staff in Miami, a guy named Eric, I think it's Studzville. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I was not
he's
sure
the
how you
running backs.
pronounce that. Yeah, I've seen that.
He's the running backs coach for the Dolphins. So interesting that, those are two names that have popped up. And those are two names that Brian Callahan has worked with in the past. Studzville was on the Denver Broncos staff when he was out there as a quality control guy and worked his way up and then went later on to Detroit and all. And then Nick Holes and he go all the way back to high school. How about that? The two of them go back. They both played at De La Salle High School out in California. And so they've known each other for quite a long time, and then their paths reconnected when they were together with the Raiders in 2018 or 2019, I believe, the one year that Callahan was on that staff. So a couple of names popping up there, not exactly household names when you come to, the general names that make their way around in league circles when you start hiring coordinators, but maybe up and coming guys, and maybe one of these guys will fill the bill. I think the big part of this, of course, is he's looking for a right hand man. He's looking for his Brian Callahan to what he was for Zach Taylor up in Cincinnati, because Callahan's going to be the play caller, but he's going to need somebody that's going to help devise the game plan, somebody who's going to be joined at the hip, so to speak, with the quarterback, and getting ready to implement whatever they want to put in week to week.
Yeah, it's interesting, hiring an offensive coordinator. You don't necessarily need to hire somebody with a name who's making his way around, because they're not going to be calling plays. You need somebody who can you can bounce things off of and things of that nature. So I think that's a very interesting part of it is, obviously Brian Callahan's not looking for somebody with a scheme. He's looking for somebody to help him with his.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that goes back to that whole thing of collaboration and maximizing what you have in your quarterback. And I think that that is Brian Callahan's stated purpose, is to improve Will Levis, bring out the best in him. And so he certainly is going to want a coaching staff that will play to those parameters as well.
That's interesting. And with that said, somebody that he has a background with is probably going to have a leg up as far as that goes. Just, again, someone that you can be collaborative with and easily get on the same page and speak in the same language to the quarterback.
Sure. And it's a matter of trust too. It's somebody, if you've worked with them before and, then they've earned a certain amount of trust with you if you're willing to bring them in as your offensive coordinator, because you're, as the head coach, not only, you may be the play caller, but this guy's going to be doing a lot of behind the scenes work of getting the offense ready, getting the quarterback ready, because you've got to oversee everything as the head coach, not just the offense. You're going to have your hand in the defensive meetings. You're going to have your hand in the special teams meeting, everything that goes on, even to the time of, the way you want to run your practices and set everything up and make your travel arrangements, this, that, and the other, all that stuff. The head coach has a hand in all that.
Now, on the other side of that, obviously, the defensive coordinator position is going to be a much more important position to fill. And how much longer do you feel like we'll be looking for that?
Well, I think you'll probably start seeing some names pop up this week. The only name I've seen so far, I believe, is Denard Wilson, who has been with the Ravens. Of course, they were eliminated yesterday. He's the defensive backs coach. He was in Philly the year before. Certainly, both of those defenses the last couple of years have done quite a few good things. In fact, I would say the Ravens defense, other than some penalties, did a good thing yesterday in holding the Chiefs to 17 points. But in terms of, defensive coordinator, it's going to be interesting because it looks like Wilson is coveted by a few teams. The New York Giants, I think, have had him in for an interview, and there may be some of these other teams with some openings that want to take a look at him. Seems to be a kind of an up-and-coming name. He crossed paths with Rand Carthon when both were with the Rams on, oddly enough, Jeff Fisher's staff way back in 2012, 2013, that time frame. So he's well-versed and been around for a while, and now looks like he may be ready to get his shot to run a defense. And then, there'll probably be some other names that will trickle out. It's going to be interesting to see. Callahan is a first-time coach. It'll be interesting to see, his father potentially aside, maybe as the offensive line coach, if they can get him out from under that contract in Cleveland. It'll be interesting to see how many experienced, been there, done that type of coaches he'll put on his staff as opposed to guys like himself who are ready for the next step. I think you probably need a balance of that. You need some guys who've, been there, done it, maybe even been a head coach before. And then you need some guys who are up and comers, guys that you can, that buy in quickly to the way you want to do things, and guys that, are eager to move up and prove themselves and make the most of an opportunity.
Terry, obviously it's purely speculation, but I saw something earlier today that made me wonder. Members of the previous staff that have a chance to stick around, anybody jump out at you along those lines?
Well, there were two or three. Terrell Williams, defensive line coach. I think he's a really respected coach around the league. Not sure. I think he was already here before Callahan was. He had been with the Oakland Raiders, but I don't think he and Callahan crossed paths necessarily. Ryan Crow, who's the outside linebackers coach, would have been a possibility, and I would have thought that they might have maybe wanted to hang on to Charles London, who Will Levis credited with a lot of his behind-the-scenes work and development, the quarterback's coach. But he was one of the ones over the weekend who was told that he's free to look around and see what's out there. As far as other guys, might be interesting. One guy who, even though his guys haven't developed maybe as much as you would like, still a respected name around the league is wide receivers coach Rob Moore. That name, seems to carry a decent amount of weight in league circles, a former player with the Cardinals, and I think with the Jets maybe too. And he's a guy that maybe Callahan should be interested in talking to and keeping perhaps.
Terry McCormick joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Terry, anything else we need to know before we get out of here?
Well, that'll do it. Let's hope some more names start coming out in the next few days, and that'll give us more to talk about.
There you go. All right. Well, then tell us about Zen Sports.
The new sports betting app exclusively in Tennessee the last few months, and I'm excited to share with you some big news. Now, when you sign up for a Zen Sports account, you will receive up to a $1,000 no danger first wager. That's right. When you place your first bet in Zen Sports with up to plus 500 odds, you can be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to a $1,000 maximum within 24 hours if the bet loses. And there's more good news. Zen Sports is rolling out its brand new VIP rewards program. This new VIP rewards program will allow top-tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. No other sportsbook will offer you a premier sports betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support and faster withdrawals than Zen Sports. So what are you waiting for? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and older and in Tennessee to bet.
Smiles. These are the healthy smiles of real Delta Dental members. Folks with access to the nation's largest network of dentists and low-deductible plans with 100% preventive care coverage, all backed by over 65 years of expertise. Go online or give us a call to learn about affordable individual plans that meet your needs. 1-855-844-0445.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Witness more than 1,000 handcrafted Chinese lanterns featuring brand new designs, including towering mythical beasts, a life-sized Santa's workshop, and a 100-foot-long dragon. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you on this Monday edition as we look back. And, you know, Mo, this next segment, we'll get to Scott Rabalais here in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about Kayshon Boutte, who allegedly placed a lot of bets.
A lot
of bets on a lot of different things, but also including LSU football. And
which, considering he was a part of the LSU football program at the time, it's a little problematic.
Yeah, could be. And this includes an arrest, actually, for underage betting.
According to the article on The Athletic, he was arrested. Well, Louisiana State Police announced it Thursday that he was arrested and charged with computer fraud and gaming prohibited for persons under 21, which was his status at the time. The gambling allegedly took place from April 6, 2022 until May 7th, 2023. Boutte was 20 at that time. And
well, is that when he placed the last bet, or is that just when he turned 21? Because he turned 21 in May. So I guess they're only getting him for the bets. At which time it
became legal then. I don't know. During this period, police allege Boutte used an alias to circumvent the legal age required for placing sports wagers in Louisiana.
But not a very good username.
Apparently not. Some of the wagers were made while he was a player. 17 of the 8,900 wagers were on college football games, with at least 6 of those on LSU football, according to the article.
No. Does that include the 2 that he had in the Florida State game where he bet on himself to go over 82.5 yards and 1 to score a touchdown? Is that count as 2? Or I wonder if it was a parlay and it only counts as 1. I don't know.
You know, both wagers Both of those wagers were part of an 8-leg parlay wager, or parlay wager, as this article says. So, I mean, if parlays count individually, then 8,900 is a little easier to understand. But 8,900 in what is that? 14 months? No.
Yeah.
13 months.
It's
That's
a
a
little
lot.
absurd. And that's the thing is, you look at this and you go, okay. I don't know how we expected this to go any differently. I mean, that's just the simple fact. I don't know how we expected this to go any differently. But that being said, let's bring on Scott Rabalais. Maybe he can help us with a little bit of this and talk a little Keishawn Butte, talk a little LSU women's basketball and all. Scott, what's up, man?
Hello, how are y'all today?
Hey, Scott, no ties, man. What is up? You trying to make us look bad or what?
I had a court date today. No, I had to do a podcast for our newspaper this morning, and then I had a press conference, and I got on here with you guys. So I thought I'd try to dress up a little bit.
You're looking good. You're elevating things around here. We probably need it actually, but
yeah.
Can you help shed some light on this Keishawn Butte situation? Because I'm not a gambler. I work too hard for my money, I guess. I don't know, but 8,900 bets in 13 months is the number that really kind of jumps out at me.
Yeah, that's an average of almost 23 a day. So, one per hour. I didn't get up in the middle of the night and bet. I don't know. I mean, obviously, your mind goes in a whole lot of different directions. And one is that, could he be placing bets for other, teammates or, other people, certainly. LSU says there's no evidence of that, but something tells me that the whole story is not closed on this Keishawn Butte situation, but it's a lot of bets. And obviously it indicates someone who's having a problem with sports betting, and he wound up about $80,000 in the hole. So yeah, it was a bad scene. I don't know if I remember an athlete at LSU other than Cecil Collins, the running back in the 90s. He just streaked across the sky of LSU athletics and just burned out. He had this huge game as a freshman against Ole Miss, and comes back in 2021 and gets hurt midway through the season against Kentucky. And then he comes back in 22, and Brian Kelly's like, yeah, I know his last name, meaning like, I haven't gotten to know him very well. He hasn't really been too much a part of the team. And he's on the team, and he's off the team, and he plays and he doesn't play, and then he goes pro and has played a little bit. But, at this point, you got to be wondering if he has a future in football at all.
And that's unfortunate.
It is.
I can't imagine that he does.
Yeah.
It's just,
they take a dim view of this, and even the NFL, which has embraced gambling and sports betting compared to what they used to, like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was hard to imagine the Super Bowl would be in Las Vegas, but here it is. And even in the NFL, I don't think they're probably taking a dim view of the situation.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl is in Vegas, but the Titans had a guy suspended at the start of the year for gambling. I mean, and as Chris said before you came on, Scott, with the online aspect of gambling in particular, I mean, this isn't the last time we're going to deal with this kind of thing, is it?
No, unfortunately not, Mo. It's not. It's so pervasive now. I think we were talking about this on our podcast, as you can imagine, this morning at the paper. It's legalized gambling in 38 states, and of course you have phone apps and all these things. It's not difficult at all, and it's quite pervasive and quite mainstream. And I think because it has become so much so that we started to think of sports gambling as this benign, thing. And it can be, but also can be a problem for a lot of people. And I know this is going to come up over and over and over again, unfortunately. And it could happen anywhere. So this is a player at LSU. Next time it could be a men's basketball player at Mississippi State. The next time it could be a women's basketball player at Kansas. It could be a swimmer, at Georgia Tech. I mean, who knows? It could be anywhere at any time. So no, I'm afraid we're going to see more of these cases. And as far as Kayshawn is concerned, they say he bet on LSU, but he always bet on him and the team to win. But obviously, it brings in the whole other thing of point shaving, which is we have instances of that going back to the 1950s, right? That are well documented. So yeah, unfortunately, these are going to become much more common stories, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we obviously Iowa State has dealt with it to a vast degree. This the entire state of Iowa, yes, has dealt with it this past season. And, but how can these schools and football teams? I mean, you just can't control what these kids do 24/7, and this is just. How does does this serve as a warning if he's made an example of some sort? I mean, does this serve as a warning somehow, or how do they fix it?
I'm not sure that it's fixable. I think you can maybe have a deterrent, but if someone's, determined to, he did a lot of underage betting apparently, and using, fake names on accounts and things like that. If someone's really determined, they're really determined to do it. We said, or people said that NIL was going to, solve the cheating problem and stuff like that. It's not necessary. It's just another kind of problem now. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of these very, probably kind of an unsolvable thing. You can maybe try to educate and be more vigilant. I know, speaking of the NFL again, obviously they have security people who are watching this kind of thing all the time. I think maybe the SEC, with all its resources, for example, is going to have to come up with some kind of, if they're not doing it already, I don't know that they are, some kind of security arm that is constantly watching out for this kind of thing. But this is the second big sport. By the way, this is the second big sports gambling story. Scandal, as you will, that is involved, has at least associated itself with LSU in the last year, because it was the Alabama baseball coach who was fired after providing inside information to a bettor on their games with LSU. There was nothing that LSU did. This was all what the former Alabama coach did. But so it's two in 1 year, and so it's becoming more pervasive. I think it's going to be upon the schools and upon the conferences to try to be more vigilant about this stuff, to where that was a case of I think the casino in Cincinnati reported to a regulatory agency in Ohio, and that became the impetus that would forward for them to figure out what was going on. You have to see more of that, I think, on the part of the colleges and the conferences.
Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And might be a good time to say, if you feel like you have a gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER for the National Problem Gambling Hotline. So as long as we're discussing this, want to throw that out there. But you said, Scott, that, or Chris, it might have been you, this might be the end of Kayshawn Boutt's professional football career. I mean, that in itself should be a little bit of a deterrent, shouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as y'all said, if he's kind of made an example of, yes, but athletes have such short, especially college athletes have such short memories. I've always said, you ask these kids, who was the starter at your position, 2 years ago? They might not know. So I hope so. But it starts to become a thing where you could serve some jail time. You could certainly pay a huge financial price. But hopefully that will be a deterrent. But obviously the allure of quick, what seems to be easy money, is going to be gonna attract someone. And look, I'm not someone who's I'm not coming on the saying I'm totally against sports gambling. Yeah, I've placed a wager once in a while. I never bet on teams I cover or anything like that. I think the last wager I was on Chelsea in the Premier League. Placed a couple of years ago. So I'm not, and it does. I can see why it makes it fun for people, and all the prop bets on something like the Super Bowl are fascinating. I did a column a few years ago talking to someone out in Vegas who at the kind of the start of prop bets, and now prop bets have become such a huge thing. Over under on the length of the national anthem, and who's going to win the coin toss, and who's going to get the first rushing touchdown and that sort of thing. So it does make it fun, but it's knowing when to stop is of course always the issue. And hopefully, this will be a deterrent. Yes.
The man lost $80,000. Do we really need to make him pay any more?
That's a fair question.
Not only was he doing it, he wasn't even good at it.
Yeah, he wasn't doing it very well. Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunate. Oh man, Scott.
I hope Kayshawn did not bet on LSU against South Carolina yesterday at the PMAC.
Oof. Yeah.
I'm assuming, Scott, you were there for that one?
I was, certainly.
That's
yes,
why I didn't reach out to you until today, because every time I thought about it, I figured, well, he's probably working. And yesterday, no exception. But
well, it was Thursday, actually. It was
Thursday
night.
Yeah.
South Carolina beat Vandy. That's all right. South Carolina beat Vanderbilt last night in Columbia.
Barn burner down there Thursday night.
It was an excellent game. It had it was a great matchup of two top 10 teams. Much better than the game last year in Columbia, which South Carolina won by 24 on Super Bowl Sunday. LSU had an 11-point lead a couple of times, but just couldn't close them out. It's hard to drive a stake through South Carolina's heart. It really is, and they kept coming at LSU and coming at LSU, and finally. And after Angel Reese fouled out with 4 minutes to go, that really kind of put LSU in a tough spot. And they're. I said going into the game, I thought they had the better starting five, and South Carolina had the better team, and I still feel that way. LSU just doesn't have as much depth, but they got five players who can all score 20 on you, and all of them were in double figures. But it was a tremendous atmosphere. It was a great night for women's basketball. It was like the highest drawing. It drew the best TV rating of any sporting event in the country on Thursday night, eclipsing a pretty good basketball game between the Celtics and the Heat. People were packing it in. They were standing in the walkway, which goes halfway up the stands in the Assembly Center. It reminded me. The only other thing I've seen like it for a women's basketball game was in 2003 when Simone Augustus was a freshman and they played Tennessee there. But that was a big walk-up crowd that day, and a lot of people were, coming in for just a couple of bucks or maybe even free. This was people paying hundreds and even thousands of dollars on the secondary market to get in, and students being turned away an hour before the game because the student section was completely full and that sort of thing. It was quite a scene. And a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, before Kim Mulkey arrived, you couldn't have paid people to come to the Assembly Center, much asked them to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to come for a game against anyone. And so. But it was a great atmosphere for both teams and for the sport, and I think they might see each other again down the road.
You would think. You would definitely think. Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Scott, appreciate you taking some time with us, man, and we hope to catch up with you again soon in a less formally dressed.
I could almost guarantee that. I could almost guarantee I'll be in a. I'm probably heading. I'm heading for a golf shirt right now. So polo. So yes, but anytime.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, both. Take care.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, 2 NFL games were played. 2 teams will play for a Super Bowl title in 2 weeks, and so we'll talk about the AFC and NFC championship games right after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company Technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
We're back here, Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, the AFC NFC championship games were pretty entertaining.
They really were.
I mean, it didn't always feel like it was going to be, but they both really kind of came down to, the last minute. And of course, it would have been legitimately the last minute if the Lions were playing for, the tie or were tied. Instead, they weren't.
Well, they could have been.
And yet.
It's interesting. The Lions had 2 fourth down situations where a lot of people would have attempted field goals. Dan Campbell not among those.
And in his defense, wouldn't have done it in week 7.
Okay, but
so
okay, but I mean, if you're okay with that, rationale, that's fine. In week 7, you're going to have a week 8, regardless, right?
I don't disagree.
In NFC Championship, you're not going to have a Super Bowl regardless.
That's correct.
I mean, as Herm Edwards would say, you play to win the game. I don't know.
Well, that's what he was doing. He was playing to win, not to tie.
Who wins the game?
The team with the most points.
Okay.
So you got to score
just
more.
making sure I understood.
You got to score more. You can't score the same. Look, I get it. Yeah, you can second guess the decision. And
the reality of it is I'm not second guessing. I was screaming as they were making the decision to kick the field goal.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like it's the safe call. It's not a Detroit Lions call, not with Dan Campbell. They were. It almost felt like they were always going to be in that situation, or they were going to find themselves in a situation where go for two on the road kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not leave this thing up to overtime or whatever. Let's try and win this thing. And you know, if Josh Reynolds catches the football, we're having a different conversation today. So, I mean,
Okay, so then maybe going for it on fourth down wasn't the issue. Maybe going for it on fourth down with that play was the issue. Or you feel like
I
Josh
thought the
Reynolds
play
has
was
made
open.
that
He
play
just,
before. I mean,
yeah. I feel like they had a good play call. They just didn't execute, you know, and that happens. It's the NFL, man. You know, people are going to drop passes. Just ask Zay Flowers. I mean, and everything that could go wrong for the Lions did go wrong. I mean, you got a touchdown off of what should have been an interception.
Yeah.
I mean, quite literally, if it could go wrong for Detroit, it did go wrong yesterday. And the simple fact is, San Francisco outcoached Detroit in the locker room. They figured out what they needed to do to adjust. They made those adjustments, and they executed those adjustments.
Clearly.
And it took nearly 30 minutes for Dan Campbell and his staff to figure out how to stop those adjustments. So great job from San Francisco and Brock Purdy for apparently channeling his inner Kenny Stabler. And, you know, you got to give that guy credit. I mean, my goodness.
It was crazy to me how Kevin Burkhalter? What, the play-by-play guy? And Greg Olson kept talking about he's not the most athletic guy as he was shredding Detroit defensively with his feet. And if he's not
Looks
the most
pretty
athletic guy, then Detroit's defense must not be very athletic either because he's killing them.
Looks awfully athletic to me.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not everybody's Michael Vick, but he was effective for sure.
There's no question he was effective. And, you know, this is a really good San Francisco team that's going to play for a Super Bowl after missing the last 2 years, and gotta give credit where credit's due, man. Great job to that staff and to those players for not giving up at 24/7. I mean, you could have just said, here we go again, and let it snowball. Instead, they come out of the locker room and made it happen. Detroit just couldn't quite get off the mat in time. I'll tell you, that feels like that's what the identity of the San Francisco team is kind of what Dan Campbell feels like his team's mentality is, you know, you can knock us down, but we're going to get back up. And, you know, timing is everything. So
we're going to bite your kneecaps off.
Did not quite get both kneecaps, though, unfortunately. But they'll play.
San Francisco kind of limped out of there.
Oh, there's no question. But they'll take on Kansas City, who, man, Baltimore just looked lost at times.
It was tough.
And that just, I think Kansas City makes you that way. I think being there, having been there in that moment is not, you know, this is not what Kansas City's goal is. They're not just excited to be there. And Baltimore, as good as they've been all year, just the moment just felt too big for whatever reason.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for Lamar, he kind of needed that win, I think, to kind of get some monkeys off his back to some degree.
Solidify himself among the best in the league. Now, obviously, he's probably the MVP. Maybe I think he is,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, people still look back on Dan Marino and think he's one of the greatest to ever play the game. Never won a Super Bowl. He's gonna be regarded as one of the best to play the game, but to get into that next level, you've got to get to the Super Bowl, and you really got to win it. And to this point, man, and obviously he's still young. He's got plenty of career left ahead of him. But
Peyton Manning had not been to a Super Bowl yet at this stage of his career, for whatever that's worth.
And I think Lamar's career is very similar to Peyton's in that regard. One of the best quarterbacks to do it, but not able to get over the hump for whatever reason, whether it be because football's a team sport and not every part of the team is elite. But Baltimore's defense did its job yesterday. They held them 17 points.
Yeah.
Now, you can say what you want to about the questionable officiating, because there were certainly some familiar no calls. but yeah, I think that's that's part of the game, and I feel like it probably did make a little bit of a difference. I think Baltimore was probably frustrated with not getting some of those calls, and they were trying to overcompensate with routes and trying to, probably more concerned about when am I going to get hit, before the ball gets to me than just catching the football. And maybe that's what Zay Flowers, maybe that was his issue. But you still got to catch the football. And here's the thing. Zay Flowers had a great football game.
He did.
Scored, had over 100 yards receiving. Hey, he had a good game. But, I think that for Baltimore fans, they're not going to remember that he caught five balls for 112 yards or whatever it was. It's not what they're going to remember.
I don't know. I don't think Baltimore fans are necessarily going to rage on Zay Flowers because, one, I think they think the taunting penalty that he drew previously was out of line.
Well,
to me,
throwing a taunting penalty was ridiculous. After everything that Travis Kelce had done the entire game.
Travis Kelce didn't push anybody as they were getting up and drop a football on their head.
Sure, but I don't know. They always catch that guy, right? I don't know. I just feel like it was officiated poorly anyway. And it is what it is. But San Francisco and Kansas City now, not surprised to see these two teams in the Super Bowl. I mean, if you had told me that was going to be the two teams in the Super Bowl ahead of the season, I would have said, yeah, that's a pretty good bet. Now, halfway through the year, I would have said, you're insane. Kansas City's terrible.
And a lot of people would have joined you in saying so.
And so I get that. But this is Mahomes season, man. This is Mahomes season.
No doubt. Both the University of Tennessee and Middle Tennessee State will be well represented in Vegas.
One of them more so than the other.
Well, yeah. Because Jawan Jennings of the Niners and Trey Smith of the Chiefs from UT. And MTSU, Blue Raider Athletics, has a graphic showing Blue Raiders in the Super Bowl, and it's got Charvarius Ward from the Niners, who has become one of the better defensive backs in the league, by the way. Richie James of the Chiefs, former 49er. And two other guys. I think one of them is Isaiah Gathings, who is on the practice squad currently for the Chiefs. And there's a fourth guy who I cannot identify on the Kansas City roster. And it's unfortunate. But saw something that said that MTSU's 3 representatives is the fifth most, along with Penn State, Rutgers, and and Texas Christian. I almost slipped up, Chris. Oklahoma with 6, Georgia with 5, Florida and Michigan with 4 each. And so, if they've actually got 4, they'd be tied for the third most with Florida and Michigan. That ain't bad. Third isn't bad either.
Darius Harris.
I can't find him anywhere.
Richie James and Isaiah Gathings, I think.
But yeah. I'm not seeing Darius anywhere, not on the active roster, not on the injured, not on the practice, but that makes sense.
Well, he's on their active roster on their website.
Is he?
That's all I got.
What number is he?
59.
Oh. Okay. Because 59. Okay. He changed numbers, I think, because I think he had been 42 at one time.
I just Control F to middle and went down it to see what I could find it. But yeah, so yeah.
Okay, well that's 4 then.
That's 4.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive.
It really is.
Of course, one of them is practice squad, but still counts.
He's going to get a ring if they win.
Rings are rings. That's all that matters. So
yeah. Speaking of MTSU football, Rick Stockstill was named an offensive analyst at Florida State over the weekend, apparently. So he's going home.
Good for him.
Yeah, and we'll talk more to Chip about that tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let's take a break. Let's talk about the AP top 25s for men's and women's basketball on the other side.
All right.
Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, time to take a look at the Associated Press Top 25 polls from both the men's and women's side. And we talked earlier, Dawn Staley and South Carolina firmly in grasp of the number one spot in the women's poll. And I'm not sure that anyone's going to take it from them at any point at this point.
Not before the tournament, anyway.
They just seem like a juggernaut.
They are really good, and I think they're really motivated.
I would agree with that. Now, outside of that, a lot of shakeups in this poll. Kansas State finds its way to number 2 after a couple wins. A lot of folks moved up thanks to Colorado and UCLA dropping games last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
UConn
Chris, and Texas dropping.
You talk a lot about top 25 voting, and it's interesting. LSU didn't move after that loss, after that home court loss to South Carolina. They were 9th going in, they're 9th coming out. Now,
I think 6-point loss.
I don't know that they should have, but we've not always seen that be the case.
Right. And I think that's a testament to the AP women's voters right here, because it's the number one team in the country. They lost by 6
at home.
And at home, sure, but it's still
the number one team in the country.
Easily the number one team in the country. No one else has been even close to this point. And so for them to be within 6 points of them, I feel like, voters aptly ranked LSU at number 9. So well done to the voters for that. Oregon State. This is a team we need to talk about. They move up 7 spots, but was it enough? Because they get a win over number 3 Colorado, then number 3 Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And who else did they beat last week?
Utah.
By
25.
I mean,
by 25.
I feel like maybe, which I know, I get it. Like, it's a season thing, but these were teams that were ranked ahead of them, and they thrashed Utah.
Now Utah is 20th
now.
Yeah,
at least they're not ranked ahead of them anymore. That would be tough.
By 25 to move ahead of them, but yeah.
Goodness. I mean, to me, it just seems a little crazy, but yeah, I mean, it was everywhere, man. North Carolina losing to Virginia by 15 sends them, tumbling down the list, and
it's intriguing to see another Big East team besides UConn in the top 25. Creighton coming in at 22, down a spot, actually. And how about Princeton? Gotta love it when you can see an Ivy League team find their way into the poll. Of course, not a lot of great teams, but it seems like outside of number 1, it seems like the top echelon are by themselves, but the middle is just, I think it's going to be an entertaining tournament. Mm-hmm.
because everybody except the number 1 seeds could go down at any point. And I think that's going to be a fun tournament to watch.
I kind of feel bad for Vanderbilt that they've not been able to find their way into the top 25. Obviously, having one of the best seasons they've had in a long time, and you feel like Shea Ralph has got that program back to stability. Their loss over at South Carolina yesterday, 91-74, that was the closest game South Carolina has had at home.
Yeah, and the second most points scored against them.
So, rank them. And the Lady Raiders, too, while you're at it.
I think Florida International is finally going to stop getting so much press, so that's good. On the men's side, and I can't find it. Anything that jumps out at you?
Top 5 didn't move. UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Houston, Tennessee. Wisconsin up 7 spots to number 6. It's a heck of a jump. I don't know what prompted that. I guess Kentucky and Arizona both getting beat prompted that. Kentucky losing to South Carolina the way they did.
And no South Carolina in this ranking, by the way.
No South Carolina. What
they are 26.
They're number 26. Yeah.
Yeah, they are 26, but they didn't quite make it. They're more than 100 points away from getting in. So clearly, the top 25 are
the top 25.
Pretty solid, according to these voters. And Memphis dropping out after losing 3 in a row, including dropping one at Bartow on Saturday. How about Iowa State up 11 after beating Kansas?
That'll do it.
It certainly help.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, congrats to
Auburn
New Mexico.
down 8, by the way.
Yeah, they lost 2 in a row. Lost to Alabama and Mississippi State. I think both of those teams are really good. Mississippi State at home obviously is no slouch. Tennessee can tell you.
Alabama jumped in at 24 with that win and the LSU win.
Rightfully so. I think they're a top 25 team. So, all right. That's going to take us to the end of the show, Mo. Tomorrow, again, you're going to want to join us because the Bally voice of the Atlanta Braves, Brandon Galton, will join us tomorrow. So make sure to be on time. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk to him about
225 with him, right?
That's right. 225. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk to him about all the cool stuff that he gets to do, and including being the voice of the Madden franchise. So he's called a couple Super Bowls in his time.
He also does some Big Ten basketball, apparently.
Yeah, so he's got a lot on his plate, and we want to talk to him about that. And so join us tomorrow. Brandon Galton, Chip Walters, Terry McCormick, and more on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll see you guys then.